Good afternoon. Before we get started, we have a very brief safety briefing, so I'm going to turn that over to the folks at the Bill Noe Flight School.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're just super excited that you're all here with us to celebrate on this amazing occasion. Just very quickly, a couple of safety tips so we can all stay safe while we're here. The building that you're in right now is shaped like a T, and there is an exit at every end of that building. In the event that we have to leave the building unexpectedly, we're going to one of two areas. If you look behind your right shoulder, across the street is a playground. That is one of our evacuations. If you look over your left shoulder, there is a large concrete pad across the street, and that is our second evacuation area. We ask that if we have to leave for any reason, that you wait there till we have full accountability. And with that, welcome and enjoy your time here.
Thank you. Well, hello, everyone. It's so nice to see a packed room. I had no doubt that we would have a really good turnout today. I'm Sally Barton. I'm the Vice President at the Education Alliance, and I'm, of course, here to welcome you to the 2023 EDTalks. The Education Alliance is a statewide nonprofit that mobilizes business and community support for public schools in West Virginia. Here at the Alliance, we are passionate about helping all West Virginia students become ready for success after graduation. One of the ways we do this is by engaging business and community leaders such as you in events like today's EDTalks to focus on future career opportunities for our students. We have a very full agenda today. I'm so excited to see our speakers here and their friends and family, and a lot of our business supporters and sponsors from across the state. We have Amber Nichols, who's our West Virginia's State School Teacher of the Year. We have Bill Noe, who's our Chief Aviation Officer at Marshall University. We've allotted some time at the end for question and answers, so let's hold our questions and answers till both speakers are up at the front after the talks. And then immediately after, we will proceed to the hangar. We'll follow some student ambassadors. If you haven't seen the hangar, it's quite a treat. And there will be a surprise over there that will be announced. Also today, we want to be interactive. So we're going to give you two opportunities to participate. We really would like you to join the conversation on social media. There it is. So there's our Twitter. And at this time, I'd like to introduce to you our CEO and President, Dr. Amelia Kortz. While Amelia comes up, let's go ahead and get started on our first activity. If you would just turn to the people to the side of you and behind you, introduce yourself, because later on you will be working together on a table discussion. I'll give you a couple of minutes.
All right, thank you for participating. And again, thank you for joining us today. My name's Amelia Kortz, and I would like to begin by recognizing today's sponsors. We could not have this wonderful event today without our sponsors. So sponsors, I'm going to call your name, and when I do, please stand, and then remain standing, and we'll acknowledge them all at the end. First, we have our silver sponsors, Appalachian Power and Service Wire Company, if you would please stand. Next, we have our bronze sponsors, AT&T and Bowles Rice. Please stand. And finally, our friend sponsors, Jackson Kelly and Morgan Stanley. Please join me in thanking all of our sponsors. I also want to acknowledge the Education Alliance Board of Directors. We have a fantastic board of directors, and we have several members today that are here with us. So board members, would you please stand and be recognized? Don't be shy. Thank you. Our theme for this year's Ed Talk is The Sky's the Limit, Exploration and Innovation for West Virginia Students. We chose this theme for several reasons. First, obviously, we're here at this beautiful facility, and we're so appreciative of the Bill Noe Flight School for hosting today's Ed Talk. We love this venue, and we do want more K-12 students, educators, families, and community members to be aware of this wonderful resource. Second, today's Ed Talk is about more than the aviation industry. It's really about the talent pipeline. We know that cultivating a strong talent pipeline begins in kindergarten, right? And so that's why we're so pleased to have our first Ed Talk speaker. We also know that talent really has to align student interest and their skills with career pathways. And that's why we're so pleased to have our second Ed Talk speaker. But most importantly, we know that talent development is really all of our responsibility. And that's why we're so glad that you could join us today. We know that as you listen to today's Ed Talk, you will be inspired. We hope that you're more than inspired, but you're prepared to take action, because we think both of our Ed Talk speakers are going to provide some action items of personal action steps that you can take to help cultivate West Virginia's career pipeline. So now to introduce our first speaker, I'd like to ask Ms. Elise Smith, Marshall University's First Lady and Education Alliance board member, to come and introduce our first Ed Talk. Elise?
Well, good morning, everybody. So Amber Nichols is a kindergarten teacher at Eastwood Elementary School in Morgantown, West Virginia. She's taught for 21 years and holds a Bachelor of Science in Communications from Shepherd College and a Master of Arts in Education from West Virginia University. In September, Miss Nichols was selected as the 2023 West Virginia State Teacher of the Year. She is an excellent educator and a true representative of the incredible teachers across the state. And I can attest to having watched her in a video, and those kids were glued. I've never seen anything like it. She is an active member of Eastwood Elementary's leadership, curriculum, and behavior intervention teams, and she mentors future educators. She always strives to set rigorous academic and social emotional goals for each child in her class and prides herself on creating an enriching classroom environment in which all students feel safe, loved, and appreciated. Nichols is a board member of the Education Alliance and also enjoys writing and spending time with her husband, 3 children, and 2 dogs. It is my pleasure to welcome Amber Nichols.
Hello, it is such an honor to be able to speak to you all today. Limitless, together with force we soar. My very first day of teaching kindergarten, the place I know that I was truly meant to be, was on September 11th, 2001. Yes, you heard that correctly, September 11th, 2001. I am a proud military wife. My husband, Aaron, is a United States Naval Academy graduate, and after our wedding in 2000, we were sent to our first duty station, Marine Corps Air Station, Yuma, Arizona. And it was in that beautiful desert town that I began my career in teaching on September 11th, 2001. My mom called me from the East Coast immediately after the first tower was hit. With a 3-hour time difference, Aaron and I were sleeping, but we quickly turned on the TV. I'll never forget the look my husband gave me when he quickly ran out the door to the base, not knowing if he would deploy or return home that evening. Once I made it to school, our principal called all the military spouses to the office. No one talks about it, but there is certainly a ranking with military wives as well. The lieutenant colonel's wife took the lead, and we all followed suit. Our principal said that she didn't know what was going to happen that day, and if we needed to leave to arrange the affairs in our own homes, she would cover us. Now, I have to tell you that the lieutenant colonel's wife could have said, "We're out of here," and I would have walked out the door. But what she did say has stuck with me, and it's become my mantra. She said, "We are here for the kids, and we have each other." It was the ultimate mic drop, and the 7 of us walked right back into our classrooms. We loved on military kiddos, and we comforted families. We poured into our kids, our classrooms, and our school in the most heroic way. We are here for the kids, and we have each other. So because I'm married to a Marine Corps officer who is also an engineer, this kindergarten teacher knows a thing or two about aircrafts and all the intricacies of flight. I may not always understand what he's talking about, but I'm a really good listener. I also try to get all of his engineer talk into kindergarten language. A plane has 4 basic forces at work: lift, weight, thrust, and drag. The positive forces of lift and thrust are what get the airplane off the ground and flying towards the destination. The counter forces of weight and drag are unavoidable, as they have everything to do with the utility of the aircraft itself. We cannot eliminate them. Climbing higher, faster, farther in an airplane requires a careful balance between lift, thrust, weight, and drag. When we think about the students across our great state, and I have to tell you that I firmly believe that West Virginia is the greatest state in the nation, I can't help but thinking of their little lives as airplanes. As an educator, it is my sole responsibility to give them all of the resources and the fuel they need to soar. I get to watch and aid in the building of the plane, placing the equipment just right for takeoff. The sky is not the limit. In fact, there are no limitations on the innovation and exploration of our West Virginia students. No limits. Lift. Lift is innate. It's that internal strength that's inside all of us. It's the natural power of curiosity. I think about the 5-year-olds who enter my classroom every day. Oh, the lift I get to experience. The thirst for knowledge and that distinct evolution of making our society better for the next generation, that's the lift for our students. The inside your belly fire we call grit, that's the lift. Teachers and positive adult influences get to assist in that lift. We get to provide supports that ensure takeoff. Those supports look different for every child, and it's the duty of the big people to know what to do to help with lift. No pressure, right? Teachers across our great state are triaging planes as we speak, assessing what they need to do to help with lift. It's a big task, given that most West Virginia classrooms have 25-plus planes with a multitude of needs. But they do it, and they do it well every single day. Working against that lift in students all across our state is weight. I call it the rocks in the backpack. I'm going to spend some time today talking about that weight, those rocks in the backpack. We all have them. I have them, you have them, the students in my classroom in Morgantown have them. Students across the state in every single county have them, and they are heavy. I'm a Head Start kid, a child of poverty, the first in my generation to attend college. No one talks about it, but these beautiful Appalachian mountains hold a silent minority. My first day of teaching was on one of the worst days in American history. I have more than enough reasons to not be standing here today. A master's degree plus 40 hours later, and with a passionate, joyful heart, I stand before you as the 2023 West Virginia Teacher of the Year. And it's that weight, those rocks in the backpack, adversity, that's what inspires me, because it's my own classroom that saved my life. The magic I create within the four walls that house 23 of the best little people in the world saved my life. The safety net of routine and structure, rules and rigor, failure and consequence, oh, how that all saved my life. In addition to being a teacher, I'm also a mama, the proud mama to 3 amazing human beings who are the product of a strong and stable love. My husband and I work very hard to protect our tribe and provide for them, but on one day in September of 2014, our entire world flipped upside down and we weren't able to protect our people. Our youngest daughter began having a series of seizures on the playground. An ambulance ride to our local hospital led to a diagnosis of epilepsy, but no matter what drug or treatment option we threw at her after chemo and dialysis, her seizures increased, sometimes up to 200 a day. Our once gifted child was wearing diapers, and we had to reteach her all of her basic skills. And it's that classroom of mine that saved my sanity. You see, I vowed that if I became even an ounce less than what I was before for my students, I would walk away from education. If I gave less effort, became too tired to fulfill my responsibilities, or let my circumstances affect my students, I would leave the career I love so much. Those are some pretty heavy rocks. That's when my in spite of began. In spite of, just 3 words, but they carry so much meaning. No matter the heaviness in your life, you're gonna just show up and do. Show up and do in spite of. All the greats do it, right? I mean, I've known a few 5-year-olds in my life who have some pretty big in spite ofs in their backpacks, but they show up and do every single day. Like the little guy who was the product of rape and incest, who wasn't expected to do much academically. His long list of in spite ofs would have allowed him pretty much any academic or social out you could imagine. But you know what? He did it. He showed up, and in spite of all of those rocks in his backpack, he left kindergarten happily reading. Or the little guy who was being raised by a single dad not much older than 20. Mom was a drug addict, parental rights terminated. His last visions of her were her being hauled away in a cop car. Oh, the anger that little guy had in his body. You could see it in his eyes. It went so deep. It took us a full 4 weeks to find our groove, but he dropped his in spite of right at the door when I greeted him there every morning with a hug and an I love you. I'm well aware that the role I have for this guy is much more than Mrs. Nichols. I'm his safe space, his morning hug, and his I love you at the door. He shows up for it, does the work in spite of a myriad of reasons why he shouldn't. That's the magic of our classrooms. It isn't just my little room 117 in the middle of Morgantown, West Virginia. In spite ofs are everywhere. And it's the in spite ofs that are the thrust our little planes need to fly. Thrust is inspiring. Drag, I saved it for last, but it definitely gives the most goosebumps. Lots of thrust is good, but there is an aerodynamic cost to producing thrust. It's called drag. In general, the faster you go, the more drag you create. The simplest way of thinking about drag is as you go faster, there is just more air you have to push out of the way. Drag is the growth we see in our little planes, our big planes, and all of the planes in between. Growth hurts. You aren't growing if you are comfortable. Drag isn't comfortable. Great works are performed not by strength, but by perseverance. The natural ability to move forward with the help of the adults around you, lift, the heaviness of our circumstances, those rocks in the backpack, weight, the in spite ofs, thrust, and that uncomfortable growth, drag. It takes all of these things in perfect balance to make our little people soar. No limits, limitless. Remember that first day of teaching, the day I discovered my mantra, we are here for the kids and we have each other? There is no time such as this for a sense of community in our state. We need each other. Business and community leaders, our West Virginia students need positive adults in their life to ensure proper lift, weight, thrust, and drag. If you would like to volunteer but are unsure of where to start, there are lots of great organizations like the Education Alliance that can help connect you. Our schools need supported. Our teachers need appreciated. Our communities need to foster the environment in which all students can succeed. Lady Bird Johnson said, "Encourage and support our children because children are apt to live up to what you believe of them." We can't limit our West Virginia students. Their flight plans are limitless. Together with force, we soar because we are here for the kids and we have each other. Thank you.
Amber, thank you so much. It was beautiful. At this time, we'd like to take 5 minutes to do our second table discussion. What I'd like you to think about is what inspired you the most from Amber's talk. And if you could come up with one action item. Immediately following the table discussion, our Education Alliance board member and Marshall University's General Counsel, Tony Stroud, will introduce our second Ed Talk. So let's take 5 minutes.
Well, good afternoon, Amber. Thank you for that very inspiring speech. You know, Mark Twain once said the two most important days in your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And I admire people like you have figured out why they were born, and I appreciate your passion in what you do for our students. The teachers I had helped me get to where I am today, and it was because of those teachers, and I would not be where I am. So thank you for your passion and all that you do. It's my extreme pleasure to introduce our next speaker, someone who I have a great deal of admiration and respect for, and someone I'm proud to call my friend. Bill Noe is a true son of Marshall University, a former Marshall University Hall of Fame swimmer, a pilot, an accomplished business executive, the former Huntington native, is someone who has had an immensely successful career in the aviation industry. Starting out as a flight instructor, Bill ultimately became the chief operating officer at NetJets, a Columbus, Ohio-based company owned by Warren Buffett that caters to the private air travel industry. In fact, in 2008, during the recession, NetJets had a very difficult time. In 2009, posted a $711 million loss. Management came in, and Bill Noe was the guy they called upon to help get things fixed. And the reason being is because they said Bill was selfless. Bill is a selfless leader, and if you work around Bill anytime, you will see that. Exhibiting that selflessness when it came time to build this school, he volunteered his time to help advise as we were making major decisions in the design and development of this facility that we're in here today. In recognition of his contribution, Marshall University has named the flight school the Bill Noe Flight School. A former Marshall University Board of Governor member and currently serves alongside me on the cabinet as our Chief Aviation Officer, Bill was just one terrific guy. He's married to his wife, Lisa, who I learned he married after only 72 days after they first met because she said no in the first 71 days. Bill and Lisa have two children, Nicholas, who's 26-year-old and serves our country as a Navy SEAL in the United States Navy, and their daughter, Riley, who's 24-year-old, an architect who is now in her third year of med school. So, ladies and gentlemen, my friend Bill Noe.
Thank you and welcome. I don't know which one is tougher. I listened to Amanda and thought, my goodness, not only did I get an aerodynamic lesson, and by the way, she was spot on everything she said and quite inspiring, and kind words from Tony. Thank you very much. I got in the utmost flattery, steal a phrase from you. You know, the sky's the limit. It truly is limitless. And we're going to hopefully create a situation where we can lasso some dreams up in that sky and pull them down and become reality. Before we get too far into it, I want to recognize and just give a modicum of gratitude to a few folks. Any current, former, or retired military folks that we have in the house, thank you very much for your choice of careers. We're all greatly appreciative of that. Law enforcement, we have some in the house. Thank you. Firefighters, any first responders, thank you for being here, and thank you for what you do. Nancy Ritter, who gave the safety brief, is the head of the school, and there is no better aviation training professional on the planet than her. So we're very lucky to have her here. And she does all the heavy lifting. To all of you, thank you for coming and taking time to spend with us today. We appreciate it. And if we can ever do anything for you, don't hesitate to let us know. Who in here has not heard of a pilot shortage? Anybody? I don't see anybody's hands raised. If you've flown the airlines and been delayed or canceled, you probably get a good reason why that's the case. Well, it's not just pilots. It's every aspect of the aviation industry and all the supporting functions in aviation. Pilots we hear about. I think the latest statistic that I read was by the year 2032, even with us knowing that there's a pilot shortage and all this effort to bridge that gap, we're still going to be down 80,000 pilots in 2032. That's a lot. Think about the opportunity that creates. Well, let's say you may not want to be a pilot. After listening to the kindergarten story, I mean, I reminded myself of being in kindergarten flying a fake airplane around, and I'm like, we need more, encourage that, would you? because we need more of those little airplanes flying around. But it's also technicians to work on the airplanes. That's a huge exploding field. There's not enough. The statistics are very similar. It doesn't stop there. It's every aspect. It's dispatchers, it's flight attendants, it's operations people, it's anything you can think of. And the more aviation can grow, the more supporting functions it feeds. We will need more attorneys. We'll need more accountants. We'll need more finance people. We'll need more HR people. Aviation is in a prime situation to explode like it's mind-boggling right now to everybody in the aviation world how far behind the 8 ball we are. It really started in the 80s for a bunch of reasons, but was recognized in the early 2000s of this shortage coming. Then we had unfortunate events like 2011, we had some 2008 issues, then we had some 2020 issues that gave us a little breathing room, but still did not help. We've known this has been coming for over 20 years, and we're still way behind the 8 ball. Opportunity. Being from West Virginia, I grew up here, and I'm very proud to be from this area in this state, and always have been. And being a true son of Marshall, anybody that knows me in the professional world knows I'm from Marshall, because as Ron Area came up and personally experienced it, when I walk around the thousands of people that worked at NetJets, I'd be fist bumping them and going, I like that Marshall jacket you got on there. I like that Marshall green shirt you got on there. Whether it was any shade of green or not, I said it was Marshall. I think I said that to you. I like your Marshall green purple shirt you got on there. What that resulted in was people, when they would come across Marshall stuff, they'd buy it and put it on my desk. They'd put it in the airplane when I get on the airplane. Everybody knew Marshall. We didn't have any executive or leadership meetings that somebody didn't mention Marshall other than me, because I wouldn't pass up, of course, the opportunity. Very proud to be from here. Always been a spokesperson for us. I see such an immense amount of opportunity, but if you think about it, we've had an immense amount of talent pumped out of these mountains in this state. I mean, you can all name a bunch of them. I mean, Chuck Yeager, arguably the most famous pilot to ever walk the planet Earth, just a few miles from here. That's pretty cool. The list is long. You can think Mary Lou Retton. You think Don Knotts. I mean, you just go on and on and on about the people and the talent that we've come. And we've even had some aviation folks come out of here, other than Chuck Yeager. I used to joke I'm the second most famous pilot that ever came out of West Virginia. I don't know if that's true or not, but I like to tell myself that. So if you think about in aviation, we did have Chuck Yeager. That's a big deal. We had the unfortunate accident in 1970. They made a movie about it. So we tried to turn it into a little bit of a positive. We've had some original Tuskegee Airmen. Do you know that? We've had all branches of the military represented from aviation professionals out of West Virginia. It's been incredibly amazing to think about the deep roots in aviation that we have coming out of these areas. But the one thing they all had in common that you can think about their names, and there's more of them that you don't know their names than you do recognize their names, of course. But you know what they all had in common? They had line of sight to opportunity. And since I've been back and more involved with West Virginia and being in the local area here, that's something that's become very noticeable to me, except for Amber's class. She's got it down. But the line of sight to opportunity is something that I think we struggle trying to create and accomplish. But I would just have you think about for a minute, the opportunity in aviation is so wide open, and there's so many opportunities that it can create to pretty much answer 3 questions. And I'm not kidding about this. Where do you want to live? What do you want to do? And how much money do you want to make? And it can pretty much happen. I'm not kidding. I've been on the phone this week alone with the likes of Airbus, Pratt & Whitney, General Electric, and they tell me You cannot fill positions fast enough. We will hire everybody. We can't find anybody. I was almost not here yesterday because I couldn't find a pilot, speaking of the pilot shortages, to fly a trip. I almost had to go do it myself. Drove the wonderful people of Education Alliance crazy back and forth, and I do apologize for that, but couldn't find one. Speaks directly to the shortage. And the other thing, in association with line of sight to opportunity, I think we have some ways to really create some magic, is the other thing I noticed since I've been back, and this I pick up on news feeds and things, and it really bothers me, to be honest with you. We somehow tend to, not everybody, but we somehow tend to talk ourselves down a little bit. And I hear people on the news talking about, well, you know, that's pretty good from just little old West Virginia. And I'm like, what? Little old West Virginia, what? Yeah, well, you know, if we only had this, well, if we could just do this. And I'm like, no. You know what we have here? We have one of the most beautiful states in the country with some of the most magnificent talent and incredibly intelligent people in the country. I know, because I've hired a bunch of them. If I saw West Virginia or Marshall or West Virginia University on the resume, I pretty much hired them without an interview because I knew what I was going to get. And that's true. Why would we do that? We should be shouting off the rooftops as loud as we can shout what we're about and what we have to offer. We are the East Coast Colorado. We just don't realize it in a lot of ways. We should. And we should make moves to create a magnetic pull for industries, operations, service centers, economic development to come to us. Now, I know we're doing a lot of work and we've made a lot of strides in that area, but we're not nowhere near where we could be. We're still on the runway getting ready to take off and launch into the limitless sky. We need to really focus on what we can do to promote this state. And if we keep saying it how there's much struggle, pretty soon if you say it long enough, you believe it yourself. And if you say it out loud, other people are going to believe it. And that's not a good thing. We should be reversing our narrative a little bit. And I think we can really do that. And now is the opportunity to do that. You know, when I was 17 years old, I was driving down the road and I saw this sign that said, "Learn to fly, pull in here." Bill, back here, we were talking about it earlier. Lawrence County Airport, "Learn to fly, pull in here," which is a little airport right across the river from Huntington. And I walked in and I said, "Hey, learn to fly, pull in here." It says, "What do you do?" And well, it took me up on a little flight in a Cessna 150, 152, which is a very small little airplane. And that started it, I thought. I actually found out later in life my love of aviation started at about 2 years old, apparently, but I didn't know it at that point. Well, right after that, I went to Marshall and was a collegiate athlete. And if you're anybody ever been a collegiate athlete and trying to balance academics and sports, it's tough. So I didn't have a whole lot of time to fly, but after Marshall, I thought, okay, what do I want to do in life? I'm going to figure out how to go do something. And this little movie called Top Gun came out and relit the fire for my love of aviation and just turned everything towards it, went in full throttle and never looked back. And had a wonderful career in aviation that started as a pilot, went into more of an operational thing, turned into an executive position, and now I find myself back flying airplanes a little bit again, which is just full circle and just quite the joy. And the thing about aviation is no matter where you are, it's one of the very few professions that offers total fulfillment. I mean, who can be in kindergarten flying around a fake airplane and then go get paid to do that? That's tough to match. And to this day, my wife says the only thing that makes you smile more than flying the airplane is when you come to West Virginia and do stuff with Marshall. And that's true. You know, Chuck Yeager once said, anybody that grew up driving the roads of West Virginia has got to have the makings of a pretty good pilot. And he's right. He's right. That's a talent that you need to recognize and play off of. So there's so many pathways in aviation right now for folks to take advantage of that it truly is limitless. I mean, do you want to be a military pilot? What branch? Pick it. They will scoop you up just as sure as we're sitting here. They're trying to get my son to flip over to aviation because he got his private pilot's license, big surprise, before he got out of high school. So the Navy wants him as a Navy pilot. Well, do you want the regionals? Do you want the majors? Do you want private? Do you want corporate? Do you want fractional? Something near and dear to my heart. Or do you want cargo? Anything. It is flat, wide open for the pickings and all the supporting functions around that. We really need your help. Education Alliance, what you're doing is yeoman's duty. It's fantastic. The board here, my goodness, what an awesome platform to operate off of. But we need your help. We need to make this line of sight for opportunity more aware. Why don't we have aviation being talked about in kindergarten? Why don't we have it being talked about K through 12? Where are the counselors that need to be educated on where they are so they can point today's youth in the right direction or a direction to consider? There's so many opportunities in aviation, I really can't think of anything that doesn't touch aviation. You want to go in the medical field, aviation touches the medical field. You want to go in the finance world, it certainly touches the finance world. I mean, anything you can do. The aviation, as it grows, needs support. And I think what we can do, whether you're a business leader, whether you're a parent, whether you're educator, figure out ways that we can get line of sight to the opportunities all through all grades coming up to college. It's not too late. You know, I speak about the youth, but maybe some people that are a little bit more mature in age decide to turn to aviation. We have people in this school right now that are former law enforcement. They've got families with kids. They're not here to do a 4-year degree. They're here because they want to change professions, because they see the opportunity, and it's worth it. Give me another job that can offer total fulfillment and have guaranteed employment immediately upon certification and qualification. Immediate. Sometimes even before they're getting recruited, before they get their certifications and qualifications. It is a vacuum that is sucking up every available person that is remotely interested. Do you think we can do that? Do you think we can help one another a little bit? I mean, I can't imagine that our next generations couldn't benefit from a remotely close life to the life that I've been fortunate enough to experience. And anybody that you see that if an airplane goes over happens to look up, I still do it. If there's an airplane going over, I'm trying to find it, and there's clouds in the way, and I'm looking around, and my wife's going, "You're crazy." And I'm like, "Yeah, but what if you see it? What are you going to do?" I said, "I don't know. I just want to find it. I won't know what kind it is because it's too high. I just want to find it." If you see somebody doing that, say, "Hey, you may want to think about pursuing direction in this, and I know who you can talk to," and send them our way. Marshall University, when it was first conceptualized, was back in 2014 when Ron Area was up in my office in NetJets with his Marshall team. And it really came to fruition August of 2021 when this facility was open. It was designed with a strategy of two purposes. The first purpose was, yes, we're going to create an aviation program to train future aviators and produce very high talent out of this facility. Yes, we're going to do that. And we're already doing it. We're running at 330% above what our original projections were for enrollments. We're running about 6 months ahead of the course curriculum classes. We've established people already in their junior and senior year, and it's only into the second year. So we're going to do that. We're also going to use the aviation program at Marshall University to act as a marketing platform for Marshall University on the whole, to grow Marshall University. And then we're going to use Marshall University to help grow the state of West Virginia and the surrounding areas. We are so prime for companies to come in here and scoop up our talent. And I can tell you, these big companies, they are looking at us. Got one coming Monday, big company coming Monday to look at infrastructure and what we can do. That's exciting stuff. What we're doing in aviation with West Virginia alone, we're helping all the other aviation programs out from here at Marshall. If you're up in the middle part of the state, southern part of the state, northern part of the state, it doesn't matter. We're helping you. We're helping some universities start up an aviation program that are just in the beginning stages of it. I like Marshall. I like Marshall Aviation, but the way I look at it, it's West Virginia Aviation. And we need to take advantage of these opportunities. When we say Marshall for all and Marshall forever, we mean it. And we're going to do our part to help grow and provide opportunity, and we hope that you guys will take anything away from this today as an initiative to help grow it too, because you will only be benefiting our younger generations, their families, families, and all of the surrounding people. So thank you very much. Glad you'll be here, and I hope you enjoy the surprise in the hangar here in a little bit. Thank you, guys. What?
We'll do some Q&A.
Oh,
Take a seat.
okay. She said, take a seat.
Bill, thank you. I'm inspired. You really helped illustrate the many opportunities between kindergarten, higher ed, and even career development, and all the opportunities in between, and clearly for us to see how we can help change some of that direction. With our speakers here, now would be a good time. Raise your hand. We have, Amelia has the microphone, and so we're happy to entertain some questions. I'm sure you have a couple of questions for our great speakers.
Thank you very much. Inspiring words from both of you, and I really appreciate the opportunity to learn about this place. I'd like to make one brief comment, and then I'm going to ask Mr. Noe a question. You mentioned the Tuskegee Airmen. Within the last week, I saw a lecture regarding a woman, an African-American woman from Marion County, who trained with who ultimately became the Tuskegee Airmen, and apparently was among the most accomplished of that group. But this is the beginning of World War I, and was not allowed to join the Tuskegee Airmen because of her gender. Can you let me know, or do you know what the percentage of women are that are in this school?
That's a great question, and I was asked that earlier. We have, out of approximately 70 flight students right now, we've got about 10 to 12 ladies that are in the program.
Well, thank you. Yeah,
And-
it's
and
a loss
the-
of human capital, obviously.
The cool thing about aviation is it is truly gender neutral, and it is race neutral. I mean, it doesn't. Everybody starts at the starting line, and there's no advantage to be anything other than your own aspirations and desires and effort. It's an even playing field. So it's we're wide open to growing that immensely.
Any other questions? Andrew, you're in the front row.
What kind of scholarship opportunities do we have in the aviation school?
There's all kinds of different ways to create some effective financial avenues. There are scholarships opportunities. As a matter of fact, I just sent Ron Area one yesterday. Funny you should ask that. There's also, depending on which way you think you may go in aviation, I'll give you one example. Let's say you decided you wanted to be a pilot or a maintenance technician, and you walked down to the Air National Guard and said, I'd like to, ultimately when I get my ratings and certificates, come and be in the military with the Guard unit. They not only pay for your college, they'll pay for all your flight training if you commit to them a weekend out of the month, and for like, I think don't quote me on this, but I think it's 6 years. So if you think about it, you finish your 4-year degree, you do a weekend a month, afterwards you stay here, you get your flight instructor's certificate. We hire you as one of our flight instructors, which is going to be an evolutionary thing as we grow our own talent. By the time you get enough credible, good, solid hours under your belt, you're done with your 6 years. You're done with your commitment. You can stay on, or you can go out and promote yourself to any other place, in aviation you'd like, and it costs you that much.
Nice. Now for Amber, if we want to get even kindergartners interested, should we not have Marshall model planes at the schools?
I love it. That sounds great. I'll take 23.
I have 2 in my office. I'll give you right away. I do. You saw them in there.
Okay.
So I have a student that's a junior in high school and is
expressed an interest in aviation, so she's got next year to figure out where she wants to go. What's the number one thing she should do besides going to events like these and visiting schools to get into aviation and prepare for a career there, like right now?
Have her come talk to me. I would love that. You right there? Afterwards, I'll spend some time with you. Because there's just certain things you may want to think about that you're, as you're pursuing the idea. When I was growing up, I said I was 17 when I decided I thought I was much earlier. The gap between second grade and 17 was I didn't think I was smart enough to be able to do it. I'd always heard you got to know all kinds of science and all kinds of math, and oh my gosh, it's such a hard thing. I was like, that's an idea in the sky I can't lasso and bring down to earth. As I got a little more knowledgeable on it, I figured out, no, this is something I actually can do and probably can excel at it. So be glad to talk to you. There's a lot of things to consider. What's the lifestyle? What areas? There's so many areas that, what would you like to do? So I'll be glad to talk to you about it. Anybody, actually, if anybody wants to talk afterwards, or we'll be around a little bit. I'm here for you guys. So.
Is there an age limit?
That's a great question. Is there an age limit? So one of the issues that the FAA, that's the way to say it, tried to do to combat the oncoming pilot shortage that we saw clear as a bell way out on the horizon was do some things, one of which was raise the mandatory retirement age for airline pilots from 60 to 65. That happened in 2007. Then 2008 happened. By the time that all that was going to be beneficial, they were retiring anyway because it was about a 5 or so year recovery. So the airline world, it's a mandatory 65 retirement age in the United States. Everywhere else in the world, under international law, it's still 60 to be a captain. So if I was flying, I've still got a couple years before I time out of that international rule. If somebody else was 60 or above 60, they could still fly with me. They couldn't be captain.
So you could get your general pilot's license.
So So no, there is no age limit to get your general pilot's license, but that's just the airlines. In the other phases of aviation, there is no age limit. I can have a pilot flying in my operation right now that's 75 if they're still cognitively good and still pass their physicals and still do all that. But to start, you could right now, anybody could come in as long as they can pass their flight physical and can, cognitively function, in the way you need to. There's no age limit. No age limit at all. I look forward to seeing you in class.
Yeah. Tim.
Yes. My name is Sherman. I've had the pleasure of meeting Miss Amber's mother here. And to answer your question, I'm only 77, and tomorrow I'm going to have my anniversary. I've had my A&P license for 54 years. I flew for 30 years on big planes.
Oh, wow.
And I tell the kids, I'm driving a school bus in Greenbrier County.
How about that?
And I'm trying to inspire exactly what she's talking about. And there's challenges.
Sure.
But I've tried to tell the kids with a smile, I flew for 30 years and I never went to work a day in my life.
Bingo.
And then I get the question like they don't understand that. You're supposed to work and not enjoy it. But anyway, well, my question is, I've visited 5th grade classes at school that the science teacher would allow me in for an hour, and I would talk to kids about the atmosphere, latitude and longitude, space, things. And what I would like to know is somebody with my, and I don't want to sound boastful or arrogant, someone with my experience that wants to do what she's talking about. Is there some kind of a credentials that I could earn where I could go to schools and be an example? That's my question.
I think you already got the credentials. Your experience and your accomplishments, along with your qualifications and certifications, what more credentials would you like? Matter of fact, I think I was telling you guys, Monday, We have the fifth or sixth, I can't remember, we put on a 12-month strategic plan to have we call it an Excellence in Aviation Chalk Talk series. And we have a professional come in every month or so and do a chalk talk in this room, just like we're sitting here today. Monday, we have the CEO of one of the largest aviation companies in the country coming in. He's flying in, and he's going to come in here and talk to the students and their families, and we open it up to the military guys, the airport people, law enforcement. Everybody that's here can come if you'd like. There usually is standing room along the back. We've had the co-founder of NetJets come in. We have all kinds of different people. So I think it's just connecting with the schools to be able to, you correct me if I'm wrong, to come in and be able to talk, do a chalk talk, and do some demonstrations, maybe how lift works, although she probably already does it. You getting on latitude and longitude, that's pretty cool. But I think you're already there. If you were willing to volunteer your time, I think they'd eat it up. Any school would.
Absolutely, and I was going to tell you, Mr. Sherman, I love that what you said about how you tell the students that you never worked a day in your life. I love that. Our students need that exposure about these careers. Yeah. I love spreading the joy of teaching. I can't believe they pay me to do what I do every day. And so to get to talk to students about what we do and how passionate we are, we don't know what seeds we're planting in our students. So the fact that you're doing that, Mr. Sherman, I think you're doing an excellent job already. But check out your local school board or the State Department. We'd love to have more people just like you.
And we talk to a lot of the superintendents and the principals and stuff, so if you want some direction, we can put you in contact with. But my grandfather said something to me as I was a kid. He's something very similar. He said, if you find a hobby you can make a living at, you'll never work a day in your life, right? And we've heard that saying, and I was like, I always remembered that. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, my view's not bad. I got the coolest job on the planet. And most of the time, I'm not on the planet.
Thank you. Bill and Amber, thank you so much for answering these questions and presenting to us. Before we proceed to the hangar, and believe me, you'll want to be there, there's a special announcement that could involve you personally. There is a paper copy of a survey on your desk. It was on your table in front of you that came with the program, or you're welcome to scan the QR code on the screen. It is a very brief survey, but your comments will help us shape this event going forward. So please just take a minute. When you do that, you will be eligible for the surprise in the hangar. So please take a minute to complete the survey. I want to thank our speakers for their very powerful messages today. I think we can agree that our state's in good hands going forward. I love both of you touched on the twist on our sky's the limit. We know that the possibilities are limitless in West Virginia, and we need to set more examples so students can follow us. I'd like to give one final thank you to someone who really helped pull this together. Our gratitude to Nancy Ritter, her staff, and Bill's staff, including Leanne. So thank all of them for putting together today this beautiful event. And as soon as you finish with your survey, I welcome you to go out the doors. There will be student escorts who are students here at the school who will walk you over to the hangar. You'll be able to see the planes up close and personal and hear some exciting news. So thank you all for supporting the EDTalks 2023. Just leave those, yes. Thank you.